Story 1. This happened about 10 years ago at my American university. I enrolled in a class that two friends also happened to enroll in, an elective for our major. The professor, whom I will call Professor Y, told us straight off the bat that our entire grade would be based on two exams that would be open book, and we could collaborate with anyone else in the class, as long as we cited that we did so. Additionally, it was the kind of exam where you could submit it as many times as you want before the deadline. Professor Y's rules, though, were that he'd grade easiest on the first try, and much tougher with each subsequent try. Fair enough. Now, some background on this professor. I'm not defending him, but I do think this context is important. He immigrated to the States from another country where women are seen as inferior, and the often expectations of women are to be meek and quiet, maybe less so nowadays, but definitely more so when he was growing up. In class one day, a female student challenged the professor. He argued back. She admitted he made a good point, and he said to her, "You are very agreeable. You'd make a great wife." Now, at this point I probably should have reported him for sexism. However, we all apparently let it slide. He was in his late 60s. He had tenure, so I think we all brushed it aside as harmless. Hindsight 2020. I am female, by the way. Fast forward a few weeks into the semester, and the first exam is given to us. My male friend, David, and I did the test together. We submitted it on the same day. On the bottom of my test, I wrote "worked with David" because I wanted to follow the professor's rules. A few days later, we all got our first attempt at the test back. David scored the equivalent of about a C. Remember, he had further chances to improve. My test had a big fat 0 at the top with the words "cheater" written on it. I was shocked. I obviously held back after class and asked why this was written on my test, and Professor Y started screaming at me. "I hate liars, I hate people like you. You are a liar." I could not believe what I was hearing. I was sobbing, explaining that he said, and it was in the syllabus, that we could work with other students. I asked where I had cheated, and Professor Y had literally underlined the first 5 words of one question where both David and I had started off the paragraph saying something like, "The reason that we are seeing these results is..." And that was it. I asked him why he thought I cheated, and not David, but Professor Y would not listen to me, and continued to insult me until I left. Now, my university was super strict about plagiarism and cheating. We got emails like once a week about the Honor Council. All the emails said that anyone caught cheating would be reported to the Honor Council and sit trial. So I went to their office and reported myself. They were all confused and were like, "Wait, you're reporting yourself? Not the professor." And I told them calmly that I had been accused and given a 0 without any evidence, so I wanted to sit trial. They incredulously told me no student had ever asked for a trial, but I was following the university rules and I was confident I would win. Needless to say, Professor Y was not happy. At the next class, he pulled me after class and screamed yet again that they were his rules in his class and he decides the grades, not the Honor Council. I said that's not the university's policy, and if he thought I was cheating, he should have gone to them. Since he didn't, I did. He was livid and tried to bully me to back down, but I didn't. We had the trial, and I obviously won. At the end of the semester, I organized a meeting with the dean of the school and filed a formal sexism complaint against Professor Y. The dean, also incredulous, promised to launch a formal investigation into this professor and would be meeting with him to discuss. I'm sure that nothing happened besides a slap on the wrist, but even a slap on the wrist was worth it. Edit. I want to add that I looked it up, and he is retired, so nothing can be done now. I also stumbled upon his Rate My Professor page, and his rating is 1/5 stars. Most of the comments are, his tests are stupid, and he grades based on his mood that day. I'd be very curious to know if these are all women writing these reviews. Also, my major is in a STEM field. I forgot to add this note, but there were only 3 women in my entire class of like 30 students. But still, one woman was told she'd make a good wife, and I was accused of cheating. It's just such a shame that women are trying to break into the hard sciences, and yet nonsense like this happens that discourages us. Story 2. Before I explain what happened, I feel I need to provide some context. I work as a sterilization technician dental assistant for an orthodontic office. This particular office is situated in the middle of a large Orthodox Jewish community, so all of my patients and coworkers besides myself are all Orthodox, and I've rarely had rude experiences with anyone. The patient in this story will be referred to as Kevin. He had gotten braces on in his mid-20s, and he was not cooperative at all. He was constantly complaining his teeth weren't the way he wanted them, despite us explaining he wasn't through with treatment yet. He also insisted the doctor was the only one allowed to work on him, which was a hassle, but not something we couldn't accommodate. After a year of him delaying his treatment due to his constant complaints, the doctor decided no matter what we did he wasn't going to be happy, so it was best if we discontinued treatment. Kevin was not happy about this at all because he liked bossing everyone in the office around, so he decided he was going to demand a refund for his braces and compensation for his time. We told him that wasn't going to happen, but we could give him a partial refund since he wasn't done treatment and a debond, which basically means we take his braces off. He seemed content for a while till the day he was supposed to get his braces off. He called again demanding a full refund and compensation for his time, and he was going to call the police on us if we didn't give that to him. I honestly didn't think he was going to show up to his appointment, but when he did it was a mess. He brought his wife and child and decided to camp out in one of the dental chairs, demanding a refund and screaming about compensation. Normally appointments end at 6 and I leave by 6:30, but I offered to stay just in case we did end up doing the debond. After huffing and puffing for an hour, he finally demanded we take his braces off, which we were more than happy to do. We finished taking his braces off by 7, and immediately after that he started in again about compensation. Then Kevin started yelling at the doctor's wife, who was working the front desk, since everyone had left, about how he was going to get her medical license taken away along with her husband's. She's a pediatrician, huh? She, after trying to calmly talk to him, couldn't take it anymore and ended up needing to walk away. As soon as she walked away, he had the audacity to say to the doctor, "I feel bad for you. Your wife is a witch again. This is a highly religious community, and I have never heard anyone use any kind of language like that here ever." Kevin finally left after stating he was going to call to get the doctor's license taken away, but nothing happened and nobody showed up, of course. Story 3. This happened on Monday. I drive a concrete mixer for those who have not read previous posts. I get a fair amount of private work and deal with a fair amount of entitled customers. This was not at a job site, but in a Walmart parking lot during my allotted lunch break. It had just passed my 10 hours, and I called in for a 30 minutes break. I parked in the far reaches of the Walmart parking lot and well out of the way of any other vehicles. As I was getting out and locking up my truck with the spare key, concrete mixers can't be shut off while any amount of concrete is left inside. An entitled mother with short blonde hair approached me with a young girl, maybe 4 or 5. She asked me nicely if I could give her daughter a tour of my truck. She loved the noises it made, as all kids love loud noises. I kindly gave her and the nice kid a 5-minute tour around the truck, explaining what happens when I'd unload and what the truck can do. A few bells and whistles tour. One of my favorite parts of this job is when kids wave and I can wave back. It's just one of those moments where you know you made a child happy. It's a great feeling. Her daughter said thank you, and I was about to head into Walmart to grab a snack when the entitled mother out of nowhere screeched, "Hey, aren't you going to let her see the inside? She needs to see the inside buttons and switches and what they do." Me: "No ma'am, she can't get inside the cab of the truck. It's a safety hazard, and we're in a pandemic. It's against our company policies to have anyone but a certified employee inside the truck or above 3 feet on any area of the truck." Now 99% of parents fully understand when given the reasoning. The concrete mixer that kids can climb into at truck shows are privately owned and generally for show and tell and not in a work environment. My truck has many bells and whistles that I've added myself to try and make it safer, including extra strobe lights, side and back cameras. I'm also paying the truck off through a company program, so it's my responsibility. Entitled Mother, you haven't completed the full tour. How is she going to know how it works? Because I just explained this. I'm sorry, ma'am, this isn't a display truck. Please excuse me, I'm on my lunch break and need to eat before it ends. I walk away. I did a quick in and out and headed back toward my truck. From afar, I could see that there is now an older Suburban or Yukon sitting alongside the truck. I get around to the front to find a man in highlight construction clothing trying to jimmy my door lock. Me, what the duck? Get away from my truck! Out of the corner of my eye, there's the Yukon with a stick sign that says Lock Services. Guy, oh, are you the owner? I was told you locked your keys in the truck and was in Walmart looking for someone to help. No, I have a spare in my hand. Who told you that? Just realizing who told him. Was it a tall lady with short blonde hair? Yes, it was. She told me about the situation. I could see the keys from the window, so I didn't ask further. I'm very sorry. After explaining, I asked if she was still here, and he pointed to a white VW Beetle with eyelashes on it. Of course it had eyelashes. As I walked over to her, she pulled out and took off. I only got 3 numbers on the plate, so it's unlikely I'll be able to make a report. Later on, I checked the memory chip from the cameras, and the entitled mother tried to open the doors, climb on the steps, and even push the window down with her palms. Why can't people take no as a final answer and leave it at that? Story 4. So, I've always read the posts on here and always thought how ridiculous/psychotic people could be. Well, unfortunately for my sister, and I dealt with one such psycho lady, this all takes place last Friday afternoon. For a little background, I have a younger sister who is adopted and is also Colombian. So, compared to me, a pale, curly redhead, whose Irish descent cannot be mistaken for anything else, one can easily assume we have no relation at all to each other. Now, my sister is also special needs. She is high-functioning autistic and is only really comfortable with our parents, me, and my significant other of 6 years. She is physically 16, looks 11 or 12, but is mentally 8 in reality. To the story. On Friday, I picked up my sister from her school. I help out my parents a lot, plus my sister is my world. She is fortunate enough that she is able to attend a specialized school that caters specifically to kids with special needs. After I picked her up from school, I had to run to the store known for khakis and red polos. My sister is wearing leggings with horses on them, her favorite animal, and a red tee with more horses. See where this is unfortunately going. We were in the grocery section, and I was grabbing a few things for dinner that night. We were in the pasta aisle, which also means mac and cheese. This so happens to be my sister's favorite food, plus she loves organizing the boxes and making the rows straight. I'm a couple feet away down the aisle, but still right there and keeping an eye on her, making sure she is okay. Enter Psycho Lady. She rapidly approaches my sister, and my first thought was that the Psycho Lady must be in a hurry for something in the aisle. No, I was very, very wrong. She says to my sister, "Where is the bread?" My sister stares only because she doesn't talk to many people and is not okay with being randomly approached. "Karen, what are you? Deaf. I said where the bread is." At this point, a psycho lady is getting into my sister's personal space, a major trigger for her and people raising voices, and I'm already rushing to intervene. Me. "Ma'am, my sister is not an employee. You are frightening her. Please leave her alone." During this, I have physically placed myself between them. Psycho Lady, however, doesn't accept this. "You're just covering for this lazy employee trying to avoid work." She used a very racist word for black people. Me, attempting to keep my voice as even and calm as possible for my sister's sake. "You need to leave my sister alone. Now. You have entered her personal space and continually raised your voice. She clearly is not dressed like an employee and is acting less like one. Furthermore, you need to respect her, and no one, worker or not, should be talked to like you just did to a little girl." "Well, I never." She is being a lazy R-word and needs to do her job. And more racial slurs plus ranting here. I don't remember all she said because I was still keeping an eye on my sister and was more concerned with her. During all this, my sister has now hidden behind our shopping cart and is rocking back and forth, while covering her ears. Psycho lady, realizing her ranting is not getting my sister to tell her where bread is, decides the next option is to reach and grab my sister by the hair. Why she thought this would make a real employee help is beyond me. My sister starts screaming, and I immediately slap the psycho lady's hand away and remove her from my sister. How dare you? Do you know who I am? You are a worse employee than that idiot. I'm calling the police. You assaulted me. Go right the hell ahead, witch. I'd like to see you try. She storms off to find the manager at this point. I immediately turn and try to calm my sister down and lay down with her. This helps her and start to hum a little. She is still upset, but is starting to calm a little. Psycho Karen returns, sadly, with the manager in tow. She is going on and on about being assaulted and how my sister and I need to be fired act. Manager, hello, what occurred? This woman is claiming you assaulted her. Me, actually. She physically grabbed my sister and yanked her hair because she believed my sister was an employee, despite me saying many times she is not. I had to forcibly remove that woman's hand from my sister's head. So, if you call defending my autistic sister assault, then go ahead. The manager was confused as he heard a very different story. Psycho lady, it's too late now, witch. I didn't do anything wrong. You're just mad you failed to pretend you and your sister don't work here and are now losing you jobs. Manager, lady, neither of these women work here. You assaulted this girl, and if anyone is pressing charges, it would be this girl. If you'd like, I can pull up security footage. Now, you can either leave right now or be escorted by security. That is your choice to make. Psycho lady, now getting the picture that she is in major trouble, tried to excuse her way out, but was ultimately forcibly removed by security. But not before getting her information. Manager offered to give us everything we needed as a compromise, but I was more worried about my sister and getting her out. So, the manager gave us gift cards for future trips, and I got my sister back home as quickly as possible. Once home, and after helping my sister calm down, I called the police and reported that psycho lady. The manager told me he would provide the footage if needed. I told the police everything that happened, that woman's name and information, and that the manager has footage of the event. For anyone wondering, my sister is doing well, but doesn't want to go anywhere near the Bullseye store, and is refusing to interact with anyone but me right now. She is having night terrors, but I'm staying with parents and am currently sleeping in my sister's room with her to help her out and care for her. I want nothing more than to hurt that psycho lady and won't rest until she pays for what she did. Story 5. Backstory. This was freshman year. I'm female and classes only had a 4 minutes and 35 seconds break between them, which was fine and almost enough time to use the bathroom before class if your next class was close. But if your class was in the elective building, it was a pretty far walk to the science building and even further for the language classes or library. Story. During lunch I had drank a full bottle of water because I had just gotten out of PE gym class and we had run the 2-mile that day. After that I had my art class, which was in the E building. I didn't have to pee until towards the end of the class, so I was hoping I could make it to my bio class, set my stuff down and asked to use the restroom before a test had started. But before my art teacher let us out, one stupid student caused everyone to be held after class for another minute to finish his part of the cleanup. So finally, when we are released, I sprint across the campus as fast as I could without fully running. You know, because running in school is punishable by death. I just barely made it into my seat before the late bell rings, and I quickly raised my hand to beg to use the restroom. My entitled teacher gives me the whole guilt trip speech. You should have had plenty of time to go between classes. It's not anyone else's fault that you spent it talking to your friends. Even though I tried to explain that I was coming all the way from the E building and they let us out late because of another student. She shushes me and begins handing out tests. I'm absolutely squirming from needing to pee so bad. Like to the point nothing my eyes see matters, and I'm just trying to focus enough to finish this stupid thing so I can just use the bathroom. I get to the last page and have nearly peed my pants 3 times by now and see there is a paragraph I have to write and decide F it. I'll redo the test Monday and raise my hand and again beg my teacher to let me go to the restroom, and that I'll finish this when I get back or retake it for a lower grade Monday. She tells me no. Finish it now and walks off. After somehow finishing the test, my stomach hurts so bad and I've really got to go, but my teacher keeps us late to talk about the next book we will be reading from. She keeps us so late that when we finally leave her room, the school buses are starting to pull away. This time I'm at full sprint, knowing there is no way I'm going to make it to the bathroom without missing the bus. I barely get on when the driver begins to pull off. My bladder hurts so desperately at this point that I know something major is wrong. The hour ride home is spent with me curled in a ball in my seat, holding myself and in horrible pain. Finally off the bus, I now can only waddle the normally 15 minutes walk home. When I get to the front door, I think I feel something tear inside of me, and I am shaking trying to put the key in the knob. Sprinting to the bathroom, barely getting my pants off, I pee finally. But there is no relief, just excruciating pain. I'm bawling at this point and try to call my mom. She says her and my stepdad will be off soon and to Google what to do until they get there. I'm freaking out and panicking. I'm in more pain than I know what to do with and am shaking uncontrollably. I look down and the pee in the toilet is a dark yellow. Now it's usually almost clear yellow. I'm in so much pain I can't tell if my bladder is going to fall out of me or if I'm going to puke or both. Finally my mom gets home and they take me to the emergency room as I'm trying to explain everything. My jerk stepfather is, I swear, hitting every bump in the road at this point, and I'm screaming in pain. After getting morphine in me and pumping me full of more water so they can test my pee, they tell my parents their theories of what's wrong with me, one of which might be a fallopian tube pregnancy. So my parents start badgering little 14-15-year-old me, who's in a ton of pain, afraid to pee and high off on morphine. Are you pregnant? No, I couldn't go pee for over 3 hours after chugging a bottle of water. Are you lying to me? No, I just really had to. I get this extreme burning and stinging feeling in my stomach again and start to cry again. I really all of a sudden have to pee again. My mom looks at me and asks what's wrong. I tell her and she gets an even more serious look on her face. The doctor said they would be back so they can test my pee. We press the nurse's button and are told to wait. I'm in the fetal position again as well as I can be with the Roman 4 in my arm, and I'm just sobbing uncontrollably. My mom is starting to panic and leaves the room to talk to the nurses at their station, who just tell me to get up and go pee. No more wheelchair, just waddle myself down the hall attached to an Roman 4 and go pee. My mom tells me this, and I have to go so bad the pain is a second thought to me at this point, so I try. She's got my bag of water she's pushing next to me as I'm holding myself unashamedly and waddling in nothing but a gown, passing everyone on the way to this far-off bathroom. As we pass the nurse's desk, they give my mom a pee cup and some alcohol wipes and tell her I'm to pee in this thing after fully cleaning myself with these little tiny wipes. Finally in the bathroom, I struggle to do what they asked, peeing on myself along the way and in 100x more pain than before. We got that all taken care of, and I was supported by my mom back to my bed, where my doctor finally is, and I hand him my pee with a glare. Later he comes back to tell me I did a bad job of cleaning myself first, as there were a lot of germs still in the pee. Like, really? Screw you. I'm in more pain than I can explain, but he was able to determine that I had passed some kidney stones, and with the amount of blood in my pee, it had scratched the walls of my urinary tract, and holding my pee so long had made it rip open more and get infected. I was also likely to be passing more stones and will be in some major pain for a few days. In the end, I got a card thingy on my file that says I have to use the bathroom whenever I have to go due to lifelong damage to the tear in my urinary tract. I will always get UTIs, urinary tract infection, from then on if I hold my pee too long. Story 6. This happened several years ago. I was the nighttime charge nurse over the IQ. I just finished a 12-hour shift at my hospital that had turned into a 14-hour shift because of a rapid response right before shift change. Patient responded well. I was exhausted and had to return for a fourth shift in 9 hours. All I wanted were some items to drop in the slow cooker so I'd have something to eat when I got up tonight. I stopped at a well-known big box store that sells groceries, clothes, electronics. The works. I'm wearing royal blue scrubs, a name badge with a big registered nurse under it, and forgot to take my stethoscope off, so it's hanging around my neck. The employees here, well, don't. As I'm walking towards the store, I see an elderly couple struggling to load a large box in their SUV parked at the front of the store. And I mean old, 90-plus shaky hands, teetering around with limited mobility. The kind I see with a med list 3 pages long. No way would his hips take the weight without snapping. And I've worked enough tonight. I approach quickly and address the female half of the couple offering help. It was gladly accepted, and I got their TV loaded with very little difficulty. It was more cumbersome than heavy. I'm chatting with a woman who is explaining it's a gift for their son, and her husband hadn't wanted to wait for help. I'd wondered why an employee wasn't helping. That's when it happened. I will be me. She will be Karen. Karen, hey, if you are about done, I need help over here. Startled, we stop our conversation and look over. It's a lady in her 50s dressed in a cheap-looking beige pantsuit with a get-your-manager hairstyle standing about 15 feet away with a hand on her overly broad hip. She then points to her cart with 2 boxes of bookshelves. Some assembly required. I realize she thinks I work here. Me, oh sorry, I don't work. Her, you are already making me late, just get it done. And don't scratch my paint up. The lady and I exchange looks of disbelief, and I try again. I don't work here. Just get it done. She then steps away from her cart to grab her purse, grumbling about idiots, and is digging for her keys, when the cart rolls further away and one wheel goes off the curb. The entire uneven load causes the cart to topple over. I instinctively jump forward to try to prevent everything from falling. I was unsuccessful. Karen, who has now turned to see her particle board bookshelves spilled out on the cement. Corners of the boxes crushed, and one has torn open with a few pieces and packaging now exposed. Karen completely loses her sense and becomes a raging thunder brat. Her, what the mess, you moron? Pick them up, damn it. I'm going to have you fired. You owe me new bookshelves, and I'm late. At this point, I'm done. Me, pick them up yourself. I don't work here. I then turn to go inside when I feel her grab my sleeve and try to yank me around. I jerk my sleeve out of her grip and turn to face her now violently red face. She opens her mouth to start screaming again, but I put my finger in her face and say, "No, don't touch me. Shut up. I do not work here, and even if I did, I'd quit before I help you clean up your mess." Karen stands there speechless, mouth opening and closing, sputtering in shock that I've dared raise my voice at her. That's when the manager and an employee come out, as she sees the manager and finds her voice. "Are you the manager? This man damaged my bookshelves and is refusing to pay for them." I just stare in shock. Seriously. Having realized that a man in bright blue scrubs with a stethoscope and a big registered nurse badge really doesn't work here. Instead of apologizing, she chooses to double down on the craziness and now accuses me of breaking her stuff. Before I can voice my denial, the elderly gentleman I had helped earlier steps in and explains the situation to the manager. She is still voicing complaints, but the manager realizes the real situation and apologizes to me and the couple. I'm still standing by watching angrily as the manager deals with Karen and inspects the bookshelves. They are not damaged. He offers her 2 new boxes, but she is now done with the whole situation. She says no. She's already too late because of me. Just glares over at me and says to the manager, "Her, just load them. I'm already late enough because of this." The manager and employee then lift the boxes up and get them wedged into the lady's car. As I shake my head and go to enter the store, I'm stopped by the lady I had helped earlier. "Lady? Sir? Thank you so much for helping us with the TV. I'm so sorry some people are so rude." She then reaches for my hand to shake. As she folds both her fragile hands around mine, I can feel something in her palm she's giving me. Lady whispering, "Don't look yet. Wait till she leaves." I slide the package into my scrub pocket and the nice lady walks away. Karen then gets in her car and, without apologizing or thanking anyone, peels out and drives away. I finally enter the store to grab my food items, and when I reach in my pocket, I pull out a plastic bag with a bunch of screws and hardware. I realize immediately that the sweet little old lady took advantage of the commotion to steal the hardware out of Karen's ripped box. I couldn't believe it. I had the biggest grin on my face as I did my shopping, and I have a new petty revenge hero to idolize.